Welcome back, students. Welcome to biology classes. Today we are going to see 11th science biology, and we are going to see the chapter 17, that is breathing and exchange of gases, right? So in this chapter we are going to see about the respiratory system of humans, and we are going to see the difference of respiration as well as breathing, and we are also going to see about the exchange of gases which are observed, right? So let's start with the introductory part. The process of exchange of oxygen from the atmosphere with carbon dioxide produced by the cell is called breathing, right? So the process in which the exchange of oxygen takes place from the atmosphere with the carbon dioxide which is produced by the cells of your body, that is known as breathing, right? And this occurs in two stages, right? The first is inspiration and second is expiration. Now whenever the inspiration is occurring, at that time the air enters inside the lungs from the atmosphere, and while the expiration is taking place from the lungs, the air is leaving out. So the two stages of the breathing, that includes inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means inhalation and expiration means exhalation. Now we are going to see the difference between the breathing and respiration, right? So in breathing is this, it is simply an intake of fresh air and removal of foul air, right? So breathing is what? You are intaking the fresh air and removing the foul smell or air. While respiration is what? It is an oxidation of food to form carbon dioxide, water and energy. So in respiration, it utilizes the energy from the food, that is the oxidation of food which is taking place, and it in order it forms what? The carbon dioxide, water as well as energy, right? So now another, the respiration is leading to the production of the energy. Now breathing is a physical process while respiration is a biochemical process. So breathing, that means you are inhaling and exhaling, right? So that is a physical process, right? But when we are talking about the respiration, it is a biochemical process. Biochemical, that means there are several chemical reactions, right, which are taking place in the living organisms, and that is known as respiration, right? Now, in breathing, there will be no energy release, right? While we are talking about the respiration, energy is released in the form of ATP. So there will be no release in the breathing, like of energy, as now, and in the respiration there will be the release of the energy which will be in the form of ATP. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate, right? And the last difference says that in breathing, this breathing is an extracellular process, right? So extracellular process, that means it occurs outside the cell, right? While we are talking about respiration, it occurs intracellularly, that is, it occurs inside the cell. So this is the main two, like four differences which are observed in accordance with the breathing as well as respiration. Now, there are several respiratory organs, right? So for occurrence of, like, for we can say, if we want to study about the mechanism of breathing, right, then we need to understand that different organisms use different respiratory organs. So all the organisms does not have same respiratory organs. Depending upon their structure as well as body organization and the type of organism, the respiratory organs are also different, right? So mechanism of breathing varies in different organisms according to their body structure as well as habitat. So two things are very important. So if on the basis of the body structure as well as the habitat, the organisms or the mechanism of breathing also changes, or and they do possess different types of respiratory organs. So here we can see that these are the respiratory organs, and here these are the organisms. So in the organs like sponges, colentrata and flatworms, right, they possess the entire body surface as respiratory organ. So their whole body surface only acts as a what? The respiratory organ, right? Next is the earthworm. They uses the skin as a respiratory organ. So through the skin only the earthworm respire. Next is the insects. They do possess the tracheal system, that is with the help of the trachea, the insects are intaking or they are respiring, right? Next is Pisces, in which the all the fishes are coming, right? And aquatic arthropods, that is those arthropods which are living in water, right? So this all are going to use, means whatever organisms which are living inside the water, that is aquatic in nature, they all have gills for respiration, right? So gills in the aquatic habitat, right? All the organisms are going to possess what? The gills. And gill stands as a respiratory organ for fishes as well as aquatic arthropods. Next is the amphibians and mammals does possess the lungs as a respiratory organ through which they respire, and the whole breathing process and the respiration is taking place, right? So this is about the basic introduction, that in what type of organism what kind of respiratory organs are present, right? Now we are going to see about the human respiratory system. So when we are talking about the human respiratory system, human respiratory system consists of a pair of nostrils. So which are the organs which are involved in the respiratory system, right? So first is nostrils. Nostrils are also known as nares, right? So there is presence of two nares. The two holes which are present in your nose, those are nostrils, right? And which are also known as nares, right? Next is the next passage, or the after the nostrils, whatever the passage is there, that is known as pharynx, right? So pharynx act as a what? The common passage for the food as well as the air. Next is larynx, which is said to be the voice box, then bronchi, and then the bronchioles, and they finally terminates, or like finally they opens into the alveoli, right? These alveoli are present inside the lungs. Now nasal chamber open into pharynx, that leads to pharynx, right? So the nasal chambers, that is the nostrils, right? So the nostrils open into the nasal chamber, and this nasal chamber opens into the pharynx region. This pharynx regions leads to the larynx. So first the nostrils, then nasal chamber, then pharynx, and then larynx, right? This larynx contains what? The voice box, or which is also known as the sound box, and this helps in the sound production. So this voice, whatever you speak, that is produced by the larynx, right? So this is related to the respiratory system. Next is there will be presence of a trachea, that is primary, secondary and tertiary bronchi, and initial bronchioles are supported by incomplete cartilaginous rings to prevent collapsing in absence of air. See, now there will be presence after the larynx, a tube-like structure is present which is known as trachea, and that is also known as windpipe, right? And this trachea is further divided into primary bronchi, then secondary bronchi, and then tertiary bronchi, and finally it forms the bronchioles, and then it opens into the alveoli, right? So this initial bronchioles, what the function of this bronchioles is, they are going to support whenever there will be absence of air, at that time this bronchioles does not like collapse with each other, and for this reason this there will be presence of incomplete cartilaginous rings in this bronchioles, which does not allow the collapsing of this bronchioles with each other, right? And because it may also create what? The pain in your body. Now each bronchiole terminates into an irregular walled vascularized bag-like structure called alveoli. Now each bronchiole, see, first we saw that the trachea, that is a tube-like structure, that is windpipe. It opens, it forms the primary bronchi, then it forms secondary bronchi, and then tertiary bronchi, which finally forms the bronchioles, right? Now this each bronchiole opens into irregular walled vascularized bag, right? So the alveoli is irregular walled, that is, it does not have any proper shape, right? So normally they are balloon shaped, or we can say small bag like structures, right? But they does not possess regular walls, right? There is irregular wall, it is irregular wall, as well as it is vascularized bag, right? And they are said to be the alveoli, right? So this is the figure. where you can see, right? So this is epiglottis, which is the flap which is present on the windpipe, and this helps in the whenever the food is being intaken, as the food is not like it does not allow, this epiglottis does not allow the food to enter into the windpipe, right? So, and after that there is presence of larynx. Then this is the tube which is said to be the trachea. This trachea further forms the primary, secondary and tertiary bronchi, right? And you can see over here the small bulb-like structures, this bag-like structures, those are alveoli, right? And this is where you can see a half semicircle is there, right? So that is what the diaphragm, and this purple shade organ, that is the lung. So inside the lungs, the bronchioles as well as the alveoli, they all are present, right? So now the branching network of bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli collectively form the lung. So as you can see over here is, this is the branching network which you can see inside the lungs, right? So this is the network of bronchi, that is primary, secondary and tertiary, even the bronchioles as well as the alveoli. These three of the things collectively are present inside the lungs and they form the lungs. Now there is presence of pair of lungs, that is two lungs are present, and these lungs are covered by double layered pleura, right? So there is a, see, you can see this yellow colored layer which is present, that is pleura, and this pleura layer is having a fluid in between them, and that fluid is known as pleural fluid, right? And this pleural fluid is present in between in order to reduce the friction on lung surface. So more and more friction is acting upon this because continuous breathing process is taking place. So more pressure is not exerted on the lung surface. For this reason, there is presence of this pleura layer which is going to contain pleural fluid. So this does not allow the lungs to get the shock from the pressure which is exerted on it, right? Now, in the respiratory system, right, there is two things, right? First is conducting parts and second is exchange parts, right? So the respiratory system, you are going to see about conducting parts and the exchange part, right? So conducting parts is what? It includes nostrils, pharynx, larynx and trachea. So this many organs are coming under the conducting parts because they are conducting the air, or they are allowing the air to pass and reach till the lungs, right? And the main functions of this conducting parts are what? The transport of atmospheric air to alveoli. So the first main function is what? The transfer of the atmospheric air till the alveoli. And second function is removing any of the foreign particles from the air, humidifying it and bringing it to the body temperature. So these conducting parts are also going to do what? They are going to remove the foreign particles which are which you have intaken, whatever air you have intaken, right? They are going to remove the foreign particles. They are going to balance it as a it is like suitable for your body, right? So it brings or it humidify it and it brings it to your body temperature. That is, it balances the temperature of that air and it makes the air suitable for your body. The same way the exchange parts are what? Alveoli. So in exchange parts, what? Alveoli. Exchange part is what? Where the exchange of gases is taking place, right? So only alveoli are the one which are going to perform the exchange of gases, right? So those are the exact site where the diffusion is taking place. So oxygen is being diffused in, right? So inside, see, now whatever your body is preparing, whatever cells are performing its function in your body, those all cells are going to perform the biochemical reaction. So when they are performing the biochemical reactions, they produce carbon dioxide. So when they are producing this carbon dioxide, it becomes toxic for your body. So if this carbon dioxide, it is needed to be ejected out. So this all carbon dioxide is brought inside the lungs, and now your lungs, in these lungs, your alveoli are present. So now, right now, your alveoli are filled with CO2. right? But now you have inhaled the air from atmosphere. So that atmospheric air is going to contain oxygen, right? So now this oxygen reaches till the alveoli, right? So what happens here, the diffusion takes place, right, in between the blood as well as the atmospheric air. So there will be diffusion. So the CO2 from the alveoli goes into the blood, and the blood's O2, that is oxygen, which is present inside the blood, it goes into the alveoli. So here the exchange of the gases is taking place, right? So these are the two different parts of respiratory system, that is conducting parts and the exchange parts. I hope you are very clear with today's topic, and in the next class we will be looking at the exact steps of the respiration, that how the mechanism of breathing and respiration takes place. So I hope you are very clear with today's topic, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.